In this video, we're going to talk about how to prepare your sessions ready for mixing. The reason I thought this would be an interesting video is many people watching this will be recording themselves at home. Maybe they've got a home studio. Maybe they're doing it to save money, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Maybe they've worked with a producer at a studio and then taken the tracks away, and then they're going to send it to someone else to mix. That's really common practice. But in my experience, it's best to be really organised with this. I've been guilty in the past when I first started out of having really unorganised sessions. It's led to tracks going missing. It's led to things just not ending up the way that I wanted it. I've also worked with artists where I've been sent sessions to mix that are just an absolute mess. And it takes quite a long time and back and forth to get everything where it needs to be. And ultimately that is just wasting time, and it's taking the focus off the ultimate game, which is to mix the song and make it sound great. Now, obviously, there is no correct way to prepare a session to mix. Every mix engineer will have a different opinion on this, and that's fine. Some engineers will have a really specific way that they want you to deliver the tracks, and they'll be really hard line about it. Others won't care. They'll just take whatever you send in whatever format. I personally do have a preferred way that I would like to receive mix sessions, but I'm not hardline with it. My ultimate goal is to make life as easy and simple as possible for the artist. And if this is going to get in the way of that and it's going to create barriers, then it doesn't matter. I will work with the artist to whatever suits them. However, I mix a lot of the tracks that I produce, and I still go through this process because it just makes sense to me. It helps me organize things. And whenever I have sent mixes out to other people, they have always really appreciated it being organized in this way. So let's dive in and take a look. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is the sample rate and bit depth. There's so many different opinions on this on the internet, ranging from people who say it doesn't matter, all the way to people who are absolutely hardline. I will only ever record at 96, whatever. My ultimate opinion is that it really doesn't matter if the song and the production isn't good. I would much rather receive an outstanding song with an incredible production and great recorded at 44.1 than a mediocre song with a mediocre production recorded at 96. Because ultimately that extra sample rate is not going to make the song any better. However, if you already have a great song, a great production, great recording, then it might be worth considering the benefits of different sample rates. For me, it makes very little sense nowadays to record at 44.1 because that ultimately was created for CD. CDs are very rarely used. Maybe you might bounce some masters off at 44.1. So I would always prefer either 48 or 96. It doesn't make a ton of sense to go above that because then you're just using a ton of disk space for pretty much no improvement, in my opinion. However, what is important is that you bounce the tracks out at the sample rate that they were recorded. This session that I've got open here was recorded at 48.24. So when I'm bouncing the tracks out, ready to send to the mix engineer, that's what I will bounce out at. The next thing that's important is the track names. Now, these need to be relevant and ideally short. So if I show you the drums, we've got overheads, we've got rooms, we've got kick in, kick out, kick samples, snare top, snare bottom, etc. For the bass, we've got an amp and a DI track. We've got a stereo Hammond. Guitars, we've got some guitar crunch, guitar heavy, a guitar strat, etc. What we don't need is a ton of information like kick in 47 1176. We don't need the entire signal chain when it comes to mix. That might be useful when you're recording so that you can kind of see what you've got where, but ultimately when we come to mix, we just need to know what the track is. Kick in, kick out, kick, sub, whatever. That's fine. Once we've got all that sorted, we're ready to export the tracks. Whichever DAW you're working in will likely have a multi-bounce feature. I'm in Cubase. It makes this really simple, saves time. However, what's really important is that you keep mono tracks exported as mono, stereo tracks exported as stereo. It just creates an extra stage if you end up exporting mono tracks as stereo. So if we look at the drums, the overheads and the rooms, those are stereo tracks. So they will be exported as stereo interleaved tracks. However, the kicks, with the exception of this sample, the snares, the hat, the toms, they are all mono. So they will go out as mono tracks. The Hammond, that's a stereo track. The vocals are all mono. So we're going to make sure that we bounce down mono tracks as mono, stereo tracks as stereo. Now, as we're bouncing them down, I like to be super organized with the folders that we're bouncing them down into. If I show you this particular session, This is the song here. So we've created a folder just for the song. We've got the song title and the BPM. That can be really useful information for your mix engineer. We then have different folders for the different instruments. So all of my drums go into one folder. So we've got the overheads, the kicks, everything in there. The bass, those go into a separate folder. The Hammond is here. I might have called this folder keys if there was some pianos, some extra stuff there, but it was just the Hammond. Guitars are all in here, and the vocals are all in here. What this does, it just makes life really, really easy for whoever is setting up the mix session. I like to bring the drums in first, then the bass, then the guitars, and then the vocals last. What tends to happen if you just put them all in one folder is that it will put them in alphabetical order, which just means that you've just got an extra step of organization for the mix session. Whereas doing it this way just makes it so much easier to see what you've got, put it where you want it, set up all of your sends, your FX, your routing. It just makes life a lot easier. And I'll do that for every single song that I'm preparing to mix. Here's another example. An album I did a few years ago for an artist called Steve Sheets. All of his songs are here in separate folders. We've got the song title, we've got the BPM, and if we go into them, all of the instrument groups are in separate folders. We've got the drums, acoustic guitars, bass, strings and keys, guitars, vocals, BVs. There's quite a lot of BVs on this one, so I kept them separate from the main vocals. Same over here. Everything in its own folder. You can bring in what you want to bring in part at a time when you're setting up your mix session. Now, once that song is mixed and it's sounding epic, you're going to want to make sure that it's heard by as many people as possible. The reason that many artists fail with this step is because they rely on hope marketing. This is just putting the song out there, maybe putting a few posts on social media to tell the friends and the family, and then just hoping for the best. This never ever works. It never has, and it never will. Hope marketing is the surefire way to make sure your song never gets heard and doesn't get the attention and recognition it deserves. What you need instead is a fully planned out, mapped out marketing campaign, knowing exactly what you're going to do at every single step of the process so that your song gets traction and heard by tens of thousands of people. Now, to help with that, I've created the Ultimate Marketing Guide. This goes through some of the very best strategies that are working right now to get artists loads of traction with the releases. These strategies have helped artists get tens of thousands of streams, even within the first month of their release. Tons of radio play, including massive radio stations, mainstream radio stations, including Planet Rock, Absolute Country, and countless BBC stations up and down the UK. And it's even helped some artists get publishing deals as well. These are the strategies that are working right now, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, because the landscape has changed drastically since then. These are working right now, and that's what you need to be using. It's completely free, and the link is in the description below. Go check it out.